For almost 60 years, every England team has arrived at the World Cup carrying exactly the same question. Can this finally be the generation that ends the wait? Different players, different managers, different eras. Beckham, Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, Kane, Bellingham. The faces change, but the burden never really does. Since Bobby Moore lifted the World Cup in 1966, every England side has been measured against the same impossible standard. Not simply to compete, but to recreate the greatest moment in English football history. Waiting for them on Saturday is a nation that wasn't supposed to be here. Norway, a country of 5 million people returning to the World Cup for the first time in 28 years. Before this tournament, reaching the knockout stages would have felt like enough. Then they beat Brazil, 5-time world champions, and everything changed. At the centre of that change stands one man. England carry expectations so old and so embedded that it no longer feels like pressure. It has become identity. Every knockout match is played alongside history. Every mistake is measured against the ones that came before it. Perhaps no squad embodied that burden more than the golden generation. Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, Rooney, Ferdinand, Terry. On paper, they looked capable of conquering the world. In reality, they left with nothing. And in leaving with nothing, they handed the weight to the next group, and the next, until expectation became less a motivation and more something English football simply lived with. The way you live with an old injury that never quite healed. Yet something about this England side resists that familiar story. Not because they are more talented than those who came before, because they appear more comfortable in the difficult moments. Against Mexico at the Azteca, a stadium where England had never won a World Cup match, they were reduced to 10 men and refused to disappear. Jude Bellingham scored twice in 98 seconds at the same ground where Maradona scored twice against Belgium in 1986. Harry Kane scored a penalty, conceded a penalty, and still ended up on the right side. The performance wasn't beautiful, it was something more useful than beautiful. Thomas Tuchel has never been interested in sentiment, only results. Some of his selections have divided opinion, but conviction has brought England here, and England arrive in Miami having beaten Mexico on Mexican soil for the first time in World Cup history. Erling Haaland has scored 7 goals in this tournament. 7. From 18 shots. That is a conversion rate of 39%. The best by any player with more than 15 shots in a World Cup since Gary Lineker in 1986. He is averaging a goal every 14 touches of the ball. Not every 14 shots. Every 14 touches. He calls himself the smiling assassin, and the name earns its keep. It isn't just that he smiles, it is that the smile is real. Nothing about Haaland at this tournament has suggested anxiety or impatience or the weight of carrying a nation. He moves through matches with a patience that borders on unsettling, allowing the game to come to him, trusting that it will, and being right every time. Defenders who have faced him describe the same experience. You spend the whole match believing you have controlled him. He has barely touched the ball. The game is almost over, and then one moment opens up, one pass finds him, and before anything can be done about it, he has scored. Brazil discovered what that looks like. Norway were drawing. Haaland had been quiet. Then the ball reached him on the edge of the box. He adjusted his body, and it was in the net. He did it again in the 90th minute. 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. 5-time world champions, out. Haaland was born 2 years after Norway's last World Cup in 1998, a tournament he never got to watch. He has spent his entire career marching toward a stage his country kept failing to reach. He arrived in America this summer, not with relief, but with the quiet certainty of a man who always knew that when the moment came, he would be ready. Harry Kane has spent his entire international career in the space between what England expects and what England achieves. He is their captain, their record goal scorer, the face of another generation trying to go where so many gifted teams have fallen short. Jude Bellingham carries none of that history. He is young enough that 1966 is simply a year before he was born. That absence of scar tissue makes him capable of things in big moments that older players sometimes can't reach. At the Azteca, when England needed someone to take the match by the throat, he scored twice in less than 2 minutes. Haaland needs no partner. 3 of Norway's 5 ever knockout stage goals in World Cup history belong to him. In this tournament alone, England have spent 60 years being asked whether this is their generation. Norway have spent 28 years being asked whether they belong. On Saturday in Miami, both of those questions reach the same evening. One nation ends its wait. The other finds out how far a fairy tale can really go. The whistle blows.